What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Barnabas Brushes, episode 9. My name is Patrick. I play the character of Barnabas Quint on the Elite Encounters Pathfinder 2nd Edition live play campaign that you can catch on our very own channel, Elite Encounters. You can see the banner for it up there. It's also in my recommended channels down below somewhere. We play live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Twitch. You can catch our live play videos on demand on YouTube as well. And our main campaign, our flagship show, the Soul Severed campaign, is available as a podcast now, everywhere you listen to your favorite podcast content. So you can pop that in on your headphones and your earbuds if you're at work, if you're on a long drive, if you're mowing the lawn, if you're shoveling the snow. It's that time of year. Listen to the show on your podcast, catch up with the episodes, and get up to speed so you can watch the live play every Tuesday at 6. Last night's episode was a little bit of a doozy. We were left with kind of an impossible dilemma, a Sophie's choice, if you will, to try and save our friend Sivril from his matron, his maker, his enslaver. At any rate, hey Pelican, welcome to the show. Welcome aboard. Glad you could be here. Hey Pelican, welcome to all my devices need to be turned off. That's pro tip number 1 from your good pal Barnabas. Don't leave your second device on volume high while you're trying to stream. Anyway, thanks for coming. Thanks for the support. Thanks for everybody out there who is helping to support this channel and our Elite Encounters channel, creating content for you by following, subscribing, watching the YouTube video, subscribing over on YouTube, supporting us on Patreon if you can. We really appreciate what you're doing for us out there so we can continue to produce content for you to enjoy and kill some time with us, celebrating our favorite hobbies. What we're doing here in Barnabas Brushes is painting miniatures. On Wednesdays, I paint miniatures for the Elite Encounters live play shows. Over there on Elite Encounters, we play in person at a table with maps, with miniatures, with pen and paper, old school role playing game style. And we try to capture all of that on camera with various camera angles, various shots of the terrain, the miniatures, the monsters. It's all happening. Maybe one of these days we'll have some dice cams. That'd be kind of a cool idea. Overwatch, if you're watching, think about dice cams. Anyway, what we're doing tonight, this afternoon, this evening, is we're working on painting miniatures for the Psychic Promise campaign. We are working our way through a kit produced by Steamforge Games. Steamforge Games produces the Epic Encounters line of miniature sets. We are working through the Arena of the Arena of the Undead Horde. We're almost done here. I'm going to be starting on the Iron Skull Knights, which you can see down here at the bottom of the booklet. This booklet comes in the kit. It contains a number of encounters, an adventure design to use the miniatures in the kit that you paint up. It comes with a really cool flip mat that uses the 1-inch scale, so old school RPG maps and minis on the board. Can you really say old school? I mean, I guess the 1-inch grid is probably a holdover from the late 90s, early 2000s. But we're still using them, and we still enjoy it. So Steamforge Games produces a number of kits. This one is undead-themed kit. There's a few others. There's some orcs. There's some lizard folk. There's more undead. There are dinosaurs, dragons, hydras, all kinds of, and a really huge Drider Queen. Lots of cool themes to fit whatever adventure you're plugging into your campaign for your role-playing game. So what we're doing here, we started with these miniatures. You might have seen on the pamphlet, they come in an off-white plastic. So these have been primed in a black primer just to get us started. As always, we are using Vallejo brush-on primers. These are acrylic polyurethane blend primers. I prefer brush-on because it gives me plenty of control over where the primer goes. I don't like to use spray can primers because they tend to have propellants in them that react weirdly to certain plastics, so I avoid those. These Vallejo also produces airbrush primers, um, but I don't have an airbrush. I don't have the skills to use an airbrush yet. Maybe someday in the future, but for now I use my own two hands. So like I said, these have been primed in black. What we're going to do is do a quick slap chop or grisaille dry brush through gray up to white to kind of create shadows, midtones, and highlights on the model in our primer. I've noticed and watched a couple videos. There's actually some painters that do this, that paint in acrylics or oils, where they're actually doing underpainting in a grisaille painting. So they'll paint in black, gray, and white to create the kind of a sketch of their painting, including the shadows, midtones, and highlights of their painting. And then with really thin oils or really thin acrylics, they'll do overpainting on that until they build up enough layers to have the color scheme down, and then boom, they just build up their painting from there, similar to what we would do in miniatures. So this is not an exclusive tool or technique to a miniature painting. This is done by 2D artists as well that are using oils and acrylics. It was kind of cool to watch them use this technique on painting. Anyway, enough yapping. Let's get to slapping. So for this, we're going to use a dry brush to build up the gray midtone. And I use a really cheap makeup brush. This is an eyeliner blender brush that you can pick up at any department store for like $2. I need to pick up a few new ones next time I'm out at my favorite. I'll try and find it. I saw it on Facebook. Boy, do your own research, Sunshine. Sorry, that's snarky. I'll try to find it, and if I can find it, I'll throw it in our Discord or something. But it's really cool. You can just Google grisaille underpainting, and you'll probably find some videos that are the same, if not similar. This is a fantasy artist. It was really cool. The piece that he was working on was called Checkmate, and it was a painting of a huge wizard that was like in the background, like looking over a chessboard, and on the chessboard were like two fantasy wizard warriors battling each other with all kinds of spell effects going off. Uh, okay, well, I'll try. For cookies, I will try and find it and get it on the Discord for you. Meantime, I'm going to slap chop here. So we'll just use our Vallejo Gray. This bottle has lasted me a couple years now. This is a pretty big bottle, but it's getting low. Uh, so I might have to ask Santa to put one in my stocking. So I've got a hard palette here off camera. I'm just going to put several drops of this into a hard palette. And then when I'm dry brushing, I'm just going to take my blender brush and just dip it, just the ends of the bristles into that gray. And then I'm going to wipe the excess out onto a paper towel or other dry surface. And I'm going to brush it out until the brush is dry, meaning that there's no more pigment coming off when I wipe it on my paper towel. Hey, Mike, good evening. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, I have to stop in that. I think, let me see, I think, is it spelled like this? It's a French word, and it means like sort of like grayscale or something like that. Resale. Okay, so I've got the excess gray wiped out of my brush, but as I brush down on the texture of this model, it's going to pull it out of the brush and basically create layers of highlighting. You can see this happen as I'm brushing. This dude appears to have lost his hand. Whether he lost it after he was raised as a skeleton or whether he lost it in life and was buried without his hand, we'll never know. I guess that's up to you, right? As the owner of the imagination computer. So I'm using just a top-down motion because I want to have the pigment come off where light would hit it, as if there's light from a source directly above it, like the sun in the zenith of the sky, right? So this is sometimes called a zenithal or zenithal prime. I'm trying to support this mace because this is really fragile here, where this mace connects to this hand. With this type of plastic, this will snap off really easily. I'm just going to be a little extra careful. It would really suck to have that snap off live on camera. This particular model, the base has some really interesting texture. There's like this stone ruin chunk that this mini is kind of standing on. So we'll do that. We'll have some fun with that texture. I'm going to try and get this gray in all the surface of the model, except for those very deep crevices and folds where the deepest shadows will be. And obviously where more light would hit the surface, you want brighter highlights. Keeping the spirit of several alive. I don't know, we kind of got a shitty deal, a shitty choice to face. Kind of hard when you lose control of your own destiny, your own future, and you have two choices and they both suck. Okay, I think for this guy, we've got the bulk of our gray down. You can definitely see a lot of the details and texture on there. There's a lot of activity going on in this model. He's got some really cool metal pauldrons with these really cool embossments with chains. He's got a shirt underneath this. Looks like a part of a tabard. He's got this kind of scale mail waistcoat. Again with some cool armor and cloth details coming out. His knees are protected by metal, and he's got leather boots with some metal pieces over the toes, except on this one, the boots rotted off and his toes are exposed. So Lots of cool details pop out when we get this slap chop prime on there. Little cool chain details. And a helmet with a weird visor that's got like these holes. Instead of single holes for the eyes, it's multiple holes. Hey, Barnabas is on the same page. I was having to really control myself to keep from throwing a bomb. And if Barnabas died, Barnabas died. But you had to stop and think, like, if we get us all killed, then no one is going to be there to save Cyril, and he's stuck for forever. So we had to make that choice to walk away. Very difficult. As interesting and pivotal as last night's episode was, I look forward to having you back at the table, Mike. Whether it's as Cyril or whether it's just maybe the voice of Cyril, who knows? But we got to hurry up and get you rescued and back on the team because the dynamic is missed. Seeing these things aren't made out of glass, I would have broken every one of them by now with as many times as I dropped them. Painting and staining glass is an art form all its own. And I don't know, man. I've done one glass blowing session. I don't think that's for me. It was fun, it was cool, but I don't think I have the dexterity to do it very well. Yeah, really supporting this mace. Right? I think we seem to have got the midtones pretty well picked out on this model as well as the other one. So now we'll go to our white just to capture those highest highlights. Increase the brightness on those highest levels. Gonna have to be careful of this arm here too. This could snap off fairly easily. Light I use is also a Vallejo panel. And the white, we're going to focus primarily on those high points. So we won't go over too much or as much of the model as we did the gray. These guys are called Iron Skull Knights, so they are probably going to have a little bit fancier uh, arms and armor than some of their counterparts, just because they were knights. Whether or not they were knights in life and then became undead, or they were knighted after being undead, I don't know. I think we are at a point where we're ready to start applying some paint. So we'll let that primer cure just a little bit before we start painting over it. Meanwhile, I'll clean out my brush with some water. Yeah, they're pretty cool sculpts. I'm looking forward to seeing how they come to life here. Getting pretty close to done. So while those are kind of curing and setting up a little bit, we'll maybe take a look at showing off some of the other models I've done with some speed paint this week. We have this Shoanti Barbarian that this is from the Galarian setting. The Shoanti are a barbarian people that live in the steppes to the north of Varizia or in the north of Varizia. They are nomadic. The males and females shave their heads for to improve their hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, the massive gosh, I can't think of the name of the hammer, but the Kalar, right? The skull shield made with a blade. And then this is a stonebreaker. Can't remember. Just one of the cool peoples, the human kind of cultures that are in the world of Galarian that Paizo produces. Earthbreaker, not Stonebreaker. Jeez, close, close. And then we started this on My Miniature Mondays and put a little bit more work into this kind of evil wizard. I've done a lot of his robes and we'll get a little bit more light his way. Let's see. Creating too many shadows. If I wanted to, once this is dry, I could probably freehand on the back of the cloak, like put a design along the bottom of the cloak here. Uh, but I don't want to distract away from the fact that he's got this little frog. Yeah, I just got to work on the gemstone up top and a couple of details, and then call him done. So, man, what fun to have this kind of throughput with these speed paints, the Army Painter speed paints. One coat solution. All right, so speaking of, let's get to work on our knights. Okay, so we always start with the kind of the deepest parts. And for these, that's usually the skeletal elements. So I'm just kind of taking a look here. Looks like he's got a shin bone kind of popping out of his pants here. Um, Definitely this arm here, this radius. Actually, it's probably the ulna that's left. Just a little bit of his mandible sticking out, his neck vertebrae, his fingers here holding the mace, and his hand. And these little toes coming out of the end of his boot that's rotted off. Everything else seems to be covered with cloth or armor of some sort. So we'll start there with the skeletal elements. And for all of these models, for that skeletal element, we are using Pallid Bone from the Speed Paint 1.0 line. I think they've come out with a 2.0 formulation for this, but I still have plenty of bottles of the 1.0. I stocked up on this color because I use it a lot. So I have to mix up the pigment in the bottle really well. They come preloaded with mixing beads inside the bottle. I'm going to start with a couple drops because we don't have a lot of skeletal element to work with here. Okay. Oh, my brushes are getting pretty beat up. I think I'm going to grab a new one with a little bit better tip to work with. I use these really inexpensive golden Taklon brushes. You can see each one comes with a little guard to keep the bristles together. Really inexpensive synthetic brushes. This is my preference to use these for the speed paint because of the capillary nature of the medium. It likes to run up the bristles right up into the middle parts of the brush. And once they get up there, it's very hard to clean that out, and then the bristles start slowly flaying out, and then you can't hold the point anymore, and the detail ability is gone. I like to keep my scraggly old brushes around for non-detail work, for slapping paint on things like terrain or bases, because you can load up a lot of paint and just go to town. But for the detail work on these models, for the detail work, we definitely want to use something with a good tip. So let's get a little bit of paint in the brush. Try not to let it flow up into your metal part. And then just apply it to the model. The texture of the model will pull it back out of the brush. And the deeper pigments will roll into those shadows. And the lighter pigments will stay on top for the highlights. So you get all the effects of layer painting in one application. And you can always further highlight these or shade these once they're dry. For the 1.0 speed paints, you're definitely going to want to apply some kind of clear coat or matte finish to the model before you paint over it, because the 1.0 formulation has the tendency to reactivate, meaning if you put wet paint over the top of the 1.0 paint, it reactivates the medium and the paint will start flowing and bleeding through what you just painted over, which caused great consternation at first when these things first came out, but then people realized you can use that to your advantage to create really cool wet blend um, effects. Even after you paint it dried, you can go back and, let's say you have a purple tentacle and you want to add like a pink or magenta tip to it and blend those colors in so it doesn't look like it's striped. It's naturally transitioning between colors. You can do that with speed paint even after it's dried with the 1.0. So we use that trick to our advantage. 2.0 formulation fixed that in the medium. So once it's dry, you can paint right on top of it with regular acrylics or other speed paints to create really cool layers or shadows or additional highlighting effects or freehand effects. If you want to add some details to your cloaks and capes and big flat spaces, just to give your model some personality, you can totally do that. All right, again, there's not a lot of skeletal elements in these guys, just the toes, the shin, the arm, the chin, and the right hand. Makes that easy. On to the next. All right, that is it for the skeletal elements. Again, the toes, the shin, the arm, the chin, and the hand. And you can see not just the chin, but you might be able to make out the teeth in the bottom jaw are apparent once you get the speed paint going in there and the darker pigment goes in between each tooth. Just that little bit of sculpt, carve into the sculpt to create that 3D effect of the teeth. They're pretty prevalent. It's kind of hard to pick up on cam, but if you look at it close in person, you can definitely make them out. Kind of creepy, actually. Okay, next we'll work on the leather bits. Wash out this brush really well. It's a newer brush, so I'm going to try and maintain these bristles as best I can. Clean it out really well. Okay, very nice. For most of my leather bits, my go-to is, again, from the 1.0 line, hardened leather. Between this and pallid bone, these are the two colors I go through the most, which is probably why my wife says most of my miniatures are very brown looking. Like, I can't help it that they're bones and leather, what am I going to paint skeletons? Pink? I suppose if I wanted to be creative, I could. The only limit is your imagination, I guess. You could create a strange world where maybe skeletons are dyed pink because of some weird alchemical reaction or some other magical effect, and they come out pink for I don't know, God knows what reason or what purpose. I don't know. What kind of snapped me out of the fantasy, I think. All right, so let's do the boots. These are definitely going to be in this leather. They have these metal toe guards we're going to want to not paint over. Just the boot. And as the paint works over the surface, it'll kind of help reveal that texture of the boot, like all those creases and folds, worn places on the edge of the boots, on the heel, the toe, those are usually worn out, and the leather is a lighter color. And over here, it appears he may have his toe gone, but his shin has a plate over it. So we'll adapt to that little detail and just paint the heel of the boot. Have a cool little detail. All right, and then we've got a little bit of a leather belt here. I'm going to paint over the buckle for now because I'll come back and paint the buckle in a metal color once this dries. Okay, the boots, belt. I think that's it for now. There might be some leather wrapping on the handle of the mace, but we may want to do that in a different color, like a little bit more decorative on the mace. Oh, he's going to have these little leather straps here, just these tiny straps supporting his bracer or securing his bracer right here, wrist and forearm. All right. Seems that one of our newest members of our group, is he a member of the group? Is he tagging along for his own nefarious reasons? I haven't quite figured out yet, but Esteban, who seems to have noble aims, at least on the surface, right? Started revealing new powers and abilities last night. It's kind of interesting to see a new aspect of that personality and character develop. Curious to see how that plays out. I'm curious to see if Avery and Azara are going to betray us. Avery in Liege with the Dragon. Just when I was starting to be able to handle being around that flaming cat. Now we might have a traitor in our midst. I don't know. Barnabas isn't a very trusting person. I guess we'll have to tune in and see how things develop. As a player, I look forward to seeing how that plays out. As a character, Barnabas is nervous. I think that is the bulk of the leather. Let's get a little bit more of the top of the boot here where the bone goes in. I don't know. Is Barnabas the only one that doesn't trust Avery? Has everyone else just given her the benefit of the doubt? Sunshine, Several, Esteban, Squirrel? Oh, time will tell, I guess. All right. I think we can start playing with some of the metal pieces, the steel pieces on this model. Um, let's see here. Just clean out a couple of wells of my palette. For the steel pieces, my go-to formula is this enchanted steel, this kind of dark metallic. Oh no. Hmm. That sentence was going weird places, but then I figured it out at the end. Okay, man. Always some tough work going on for you, Evil, but we're glad you're here. We're glad to see you, and glad you're able to pop in even for just a little bit as we're working on these Iron Skull Knights. There's two of these guys. We really just got started. We did the priming, we've done the skeletal bits and some leather. So you haven't missed a whole lot talking about last night's episode. Uh, some of the new things being revealed with Esteban. Barnabas's mistrust of Avery, and it's not just because of her flaming cat. Good, good. All right, for this recipe, we will add a little bit of dark tone wash into our paint just to pull some of that darker shadow in. We can always go back over the paint when it dries with this wash again, just to accentuate those dings and dents and uh, recesses in the model. But all right, so we use one of those scraggly old brushes where the bristles are beyond help to mix this up in our palette. I always use hard palettes with speed paints. Most of you guys know that by now, but any new watchers, with your speed paints, because of the medium, you don't want to use a wet palette because that'll water down the paint a little too much and cause issues with the purpose of the speed paint, which is using that medium to flow into your model texture. So many cool little details on this sculpt. I want to make sure I catch them all and bring them all to life. So when somebody else picks this up or puts it on their table, they go, "Oh man, check this out! Check these details out on this pauldron or this armor on his kneecap." What's the armor called that sits over your knee? I don't know. I don't know all my pieces of armor like I should. There are artists out there who are very well versed in their medieval warfare equipment, armor, and weapons. Wayne Reynolds, who's a big fantasy artist for does the cover art for all the Paizo Pathfinder books. He does a lot of art for Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons. He is a very prolific fantasy and sci-fi artist uh, with his very unique, stylized signature style that's easily recognizable, I think. He is very well versed in medieval warfare. He does a lot of medieval war reenactment and costuming. Not just costuming, but actually wearing the real armor and using the real weapons. Um, so he knows his stuff. I'm sure he would know what this knee piece is called. There are a lot of people who are very fascinated by medieval warfare and have all this knowledge. I used to work with a paleontologist. Uh, I dabbled a little bit in fossil preparation, and I worked with a paleontologist who was sort of a celebrity in those circles, Robert Bacher, who was a popular author. He was a scientific advisor on Jurassic Park, but he was a science advisor for the fossil lab I volunteered at. So he would come by from time to time and give talks and visit the lab. But he was a wealth of information on medieval warfare, arms and armament and armor. I might trim this visor in gold. There's a lot of cool stuff going on here. I'll just hit the head of this mace. Yeah, I agree, Jacobian. That was a doozy. I'm having a hard time telling here if this is a tibia and patella sticking out of the boot here, or some kind of armor. It looks more and more as I give it more attention that it's organic, that it looks like bone. So I might go back and paint that with some of my bone color. Just got one. Mixer. Okay. Got a few minutes, so I'm going to quickly apply this steel color to the same bits on the second model. Shut my trap and quit my yap. And get to slap and paint. But it's nice to have the interaction and conversation with everyone in chat. I appreciate the conversation. It makes the time go really quick when we're painting and interacting. So thanks for participating with me. And I encourage everyone who's watching to participate in chat with each other. Kind of create our own little cool hangout to relax in the afternoon. Some of us are getting off work and just want to chill out for a little bit before we have to deal with our evening routines. Dinner, kids, whatever you got going on. Bowls. Just to enjoy each other's company for a little bit while we hang out. Be sure to, spread the word, tell your friends. Uh, if you enjoy hanging out here, have them come hang out too. We'll grow this little community on the side of our main role-playing game community. Continue to have fun. He's got this really cool kind of sunburst motif going on his forehead and on his pauldrons. I think I'm gonna do that in like a gold. There's some gemstones in the middle of these sunburst features. So we'll play around with that as well. We'll have to do that next time because we are coming close to the end of the episode here. Not some bad progress for an hour. We started with our base models, our black prime, slap chopped them up to a grisaille prime, started adding some color. We're making some pretty good progress here, so thank you. We'll continue this next time. In the meantime, thanks everyone for coming by and supporting the channel, supporting our main Elite Encounters channel. Be sure to check us out every Tuesday at 6 o'clock Eastern Time for our live play of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, set in a homebrew world. We're always looking to potentially add new content as well, so stay tuned for that. Continue to support the channel so we can be able to bring you that content. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Overwatch will be streaming. He may be streaming him learning some new instruments thanks to the new powers that were revealed through his uh, artifact hat. Uh, that should be entertaining. In the meantime, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, push all the buttons, mash all the buttons, tell your friends. We are working on trying to get to 50 followers here. Keep talking about this giveaway that we're going to do. As soon as we hit that 50 follower milestone, we'll randomly choose one of those followers to receive this WizKids Beholder model custom painted to their specifications. But we got to get to 50. So I appreciate you guys that are following already. If you have friends or people in your game groups or coworkers or anybody that you may know that might want to hang out and watch us paint minis and support the channel, let them know. See if they can't pop by and give us a follow and help us grow together and hang out and chat with you guys while I'm slapping paint. So until next time, Monday, Barnabas Brushes, My Miniature Mondays. Tuesday, 6 o'clock Eastern, Elite Encounters, Pathfinder 2nd Edition live play. Wednesday, back with Barnabas Brushes. And Thursday, Overwatch's show. Who knows what he's going to do? I hope he busts out the ukulele. I would love to watch that. In the meantime, have a great evening, everybody.